Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to begin the service. We do have seats over here, so we have like 5 or 6 seats. We welcome those of you who are joining us via live stream. In a moment, we're going to begin the funeral service for Joann Rae Dardick. Please take a moment to be sure your cell phones have been turned off, not to disturb the sacred funeral ceremony. And once again, if there is a seat next to you, if you could kindly just invite someone to sit next to you, that if the seat is not occupied, that would be greatly appreciated. Rabbi Rachel Heaps from Temple Jeremiah will be officiating, and in just a moment she's going to approach the family to perform the ancient ceremony of Kriya.
Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the mystery of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized only in endless pain. The gift of spirit that our loved ones give to us, they cannot be weighed and they cannot be measured, and they absolutely cannot be tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that their light and their warmth will always be with us and will always bring us comfort and courage, and hopefully, in the fullness of time, bring us to healing and peace. We gather together in love and support to remember Joann, and we join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to her family. Mourning is a time filled with many emotions, many memories, both bitter and sweet. And so we begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, And we link Joann's life with the millennia-old tradition of the people of Israel and of the eternity of God. Our rabbis taught that each of us has access to 3 crowns: the crown of Torah, the crown of priesthood, and the crown of royalty. And they emphasized that beyond all of those crowns, the crown of a good name exceeds them all. The book of Ecclesiastes says, Tov Shem Meshemen Tov. A good name is to be treasured beyond precious oil. Wealth, health, even life passes away, but a good name lives on forever. It is in this view that the Talmud teaches us that monuments need not be erected for the righteous. Their deeds become their eternal memorials. They will be remembered and revered for kindness, for love, for grace and compassion, for so much that they give to all of us, and they become shining examples of what it means to be a mensch. Joann was the definition of this word. A mensch, a good person in soul and in deed, in impact and in care. She was so much to so many people, and that becomes her everlasting memorial. I find in times of immediate loss, it can be hard to know what to say, how to bring comfort to those who loved her so much, how to put her whole life into words or stories. It can be hard to know what to do and how to live in a world without Joann. And so our tradition doesn't necessarily give us acts or words to say. Instead, it gives us guidance. And perhaps one of the most familiar pieces of guidance comes through Psalm 23, the shepherd's psalm. And in it, it talks of the psalmist who walks through the valley of the shadow of death, a time of fear and loneliness, a time of uncertainty and not knowing what the future might hold. The psalmist is indeed scared and at a time of deep loss. What I find most amazing about this psalm is that even in that valley, the psalmist says, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. And what I appreciate about the Hebrew of this is it can become a little ambiguous. Perhaps the psalmist is talking to God and filled with faith in a time of shadow and says, you are with me, O God, you guide me through this valley. But I think one of the reasons that we use this psalm so much at times of mourning and of grief is because that you could also be Joann, that she becomes our guide through this valley, that she shows us back into life filled with hope and joy, filled with those who care for us and those whom we care for, that she becomes the person in whom we trust, the person in whom their legacy we live every day, because it's through Joann that we know we need to fear no evil, because she was the one who gathered all of these people together and all of this love together. It was because of her that we need to fear not at all. And it's because of her that we're able to find comfort in each other. The 23rd Psalm. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, bino tesher bitzeni, amei menuchot yenachaleni. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo Gam ki elech beged samavet, lo irara ki ata imadim. Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, neged sorerai. Deshanta v'shem en roshi, kosi rivaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai. V'shavti beveit Adonai, le'orech yamim. On the inside of our pamphlets, we find the translation of this psalm, which we read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In these moments of trust in God, trust in Joann, trust in the memory and legacy that she leaves to each of us, we are filled with emotions, filled with feelings that sometimes can be hard to express out loud. And so we take this moment of silent reflection to hold in our hearts Joann's legacy, to hold in our hearts the impact she made on so many who we hold dear in this moment of silence. Esayenai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Esayenai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, Osei shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, Osei shamayim va'aretz. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian. Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai, with everything that I know about Joann, she would say that the most important thing is to make sure that everyone is as healthy and comfortable as possible. And even as we are paying so much attention and so much love to Joann, I think she would be focusing on everyone else. And it just seems like this kind of moment where our attentions are redirected would be exactly what she would do as well. And as difficult as it is to come in and out of this moment of honoring Joann, I think that that reaction is what Joann would do. And I think that it continues to honor Joann. And our Jewish tradition, it feels difficult because, as I said, it doesn't necessarily give us many rituals or words to say, many actions to do at times of mourning and grief. In fact, there aren't a lot of commands around this moment in someone's life and in someone's love. Instead, it really gives us one thing to do, and that's to tell stories. To tell stories about Joann, about someone who had an impact on family and on community, on institutions and the world, and someone who can only be exemplified in little pieces of stories that we put together into a whole person and into a whole life. And so we follow and observe that command to tell pieces of Joann's stories. And so I invite first her sister Laura, and then her brother-in-law Hal, and then her daughter Tracy to give us these pieces of Joann in their perspectives and in their ways that Joann was such a part of their lives in this moment of storytelling.
Isadora James said, "A sister is a gift to the heart, a friend to the spirit, a golden thread to the meaning of life." Standing here in front of all of you and next to my sister, I can truly say that I am the luckiest one in the room, for my gift to my heart, my friend to the spirit, was my sister, Joann Rae Dardick. And what an amazing sister she was. Joann is a part of my first memories, bringing stuffed animals to my crib after my tonsillectomy, riding our bikes down Winston Drive in Melrose Park, and feeling the freedom of crossing the street together, all by ourselves, hand in hand. As we grew up, even when Joann needed a bit of space, as a younger sister, I dutifully banged on her door until, of course, my wonderful big sister would let me in. There was never any space between us. Moving to Deerfield, being at the same high school, at times I would insist on wearing what she wanted to wear that day. And true to her giving spirit, she would always let me wear the chosen outfit. High school and college years flew by, and before we knew it, a wedding was being planned. While Joann was always proud of her Washington University education, she graduated from Northwestern with honors to be close to Nathan, who was attending the University of Chicago Law School. They had been reintroduced by Nate's sister, Louise, while they were all at Washington University. And let me clarify this, the Finnes and the Dardicks had all belonged to Oak Park Temple and therefore had known of each other for years. Even at Joann and Nate's wedding, Joann and I had plotted where I'd be standing when she threw the bouquet. The photographer was even in on the plan. Mission accomplished. As Joann settled into married life, and while Nate was out of town, one night she invited Chuck, Jeff Kushner, and me to dinner. Well, we all know how that turned out. Joann, the matchmaker. Everyone recognized Joann was filled with love and compassion and empathy, but as her sister, I know she embraced and enjoyed the humor in life's adventures. As life took Chuck and I to Dallas and Philadelphia training, the high holidays rolled around. In Dallas, the synagogue welcomed medical residents to celebrate the holidays with their congregants, while the local Philly synagogue wanted proof that we were members in good standing at our temple in Dallas. Joann picked up the phone, pretending to work at the Dallas synagogue. She assured the Philly temple that the Millers were congregants in good standing. Tickets were released to us. Joann did it again. When Chuck and I returned to Chicago, Joann and I were raising our young families. We spent as much time together as possible. One day I picked her up, so we strapped the kids in the car and headed to Brookfield Zoo. This was before Waze and Google Maps. Somehow we ended up in downtown Chicago, where I went through a red light. Of course, I was pulled over. As the officer came to the window, Joann calmly leaned over and said, "Officer, my sister is trying to get us to Brookfield Zoo. She thinks we are almost there." The officer assured us that we were nowhere near Brookfield Zoo, but should head to the Shed Aquarium instead. No ticket was issued, and we spent the afternoon watching the fish. Again, Joann saved the day with her brilliant strategy. As the years passed and our children spent their days in school, many Fridays, Joann and I would meet at the corner bakery in Old Orchard. As other shoppers would enter the restaurant, we would try to guess which suburb they were from by their mannerisms, clothes, and what they ordered. We never knew if we were right or wrong, but oh boy, did we laugh. We were fortunate to travel with Mom, just the three of us, to New York, Rome, a cruise to London on the QE2, and my personal favorite, a Caribbean cruise. There, we threw ourselves into the crazy days of cruising, singing along with the piano bar, playing games at the pool, and promising we would never go on a cruise again without a temporary tattoo. As we celebrated family holidays, whether Passover or Hannukah, Joann was the star, retelling the stories of Moses and the Maccabees as only an engaged preschool teacher could. Just over 3 weeks ago, Joann sat on the floor of my home, entertaining our community of grandchildren with the story of the miracle of Hannukah. They were mesmerized by her delivery. The love for their grandma and Aunt Jo was so obvious in their little faces as she mirrored back her love for them. The very next day, after her two favorite activities, tennis and book club, my magnificent sister became acutely ill. My life will never be the same. After hearing her Aunt Jo was so ill, one of my grandchildren asked, "Who will do the puppet show for us?" "Mom, Joann was your baby. Your mutual love and respect will be cherished forever. Believe it or not, I have no words, but we will get through this together." Sam, Whitney, Fred, Tracy, Bill, Justin, Katie, and their children, you were the light of your mother's life. She loved you completely, unconditionally, and with her whole being. Nate, since Joann's first episode 5 years ago, and even before, you've been the model partner, lovingly going above and beyond to keep Joann comfortable, peaceful, secure, and of course loved. You've been an amazing husband, advocate, and protector. The whole family will be eternally grateful. Joann, you were my best friend, role model, confidant, moral compass, and partner in crime. With a glance, we would know that our rusty sense of humor was about to erupt. And of course, we couldn't stop the giggles. Run into the loving arms of Daddy, Grandma Helen, Grandpa David. I'm sorry. Grandpa Ray, Grandpa Joseph. I bet Uncle Henry will even slip you a toy. Joann, my golden thread. You truly knew me and I knew you. We will forever be the Finne girls. I will love and miss you for all eternity.
My sister-in-law, Joann, was a beautiful soul, a beacon of light, one that spread unconditional love, laughter, and wisdom. I surely felt it. When I was a young man returning to college at Northwestern after going through a tough bout of depression, Nate offered me a place in their home while I pursued my degree. I surely needed the support, both financially and emotionally, but I asked, hey, Nate, is Joann okay with that? Indeed, she was. So I moved into their home, where I was for a time part and parcel of their growing family. There was Sam and Fred, toddler Tracy, soon baby Justin, and there I was, Uncle Hal, welcomed right into the fold. I was mending, but still struggling. Joann saw that. She provided unwavering encouragement and support at times when I was down. You have to remember, this was in the 1980s. Discussing depression, or even admitting you were being treated for it, was still taboo in many quarters. People often judged that as a failure. And although I knew better, I still judged myself that same way. One day, I made some offhand comment to Joann, something like, I'm doing okay for being crazy, and she reacted strongly. You are not crazy, she told me emphatically. You are the farthest thing from it. Yes, you are struggling with an illness, but that's not you. You are a rational, good person. That carried me forward, guided me for many years. I got better, in part because of her kindness and wisdom. I prospered and never again viewed myself as crazy. And so Joann, already a big sister figure to me, also became a mother figure. I was bathed in her bright light. Now, in her passing, at a time when we're all recalling our moments with her, I'm just beginning to understand how widely that light spread. It shined on family, friends, and the many children that she taught through the years. For so many, like me, that light was a guide to a better and more fulfilling life. Sam, Nate and Joann's eldest son, tells a story about the first time he met his parents-to-be. Sam and his younger brother Fred were foster children who had been through some tough times. Sam was 6, Fred was 4. Nate and Joann, a very young married couple still, were considering becoming foster parents and taking the boys into their home. Sam was immediately smitten. Here's how he recalls it. She was like a living angel. She was so nice and beautiful and sweet, and I was coming from a place of darkness where I didn't have much of that. And the love and affection she showed us that day was more than I had in a long time, and it meant so much. After that initial meeting, Sam and Fred went back to the foster home they were living in, but Sam couldn't stop thinking about Joann and Nate. I dreamed about her, Sam recalls. I thought about her all the time, her and my dad. They were so beautiful. I couldn't believe that someone like that existed, and I couldn't wait to see them again. Indeed, as we all know, he did see them again. And Sam, a kid who stuttered and had trouble fitting in, grew under Joann's patient guidance. He admittedly made mistakes, but as he says, he was lucky to have parents who gave me second chances. Today, that kid who could not communicate holds a master's degree in communications. And he lives a wonderful life with his wife, Whitney. And he's a kind and generous man. He was guided by that light. Of course, Fred, Tracy, and Justin also grew and blossomed under that light. Fred today marvels at his mother's unwavering love, positive outlook, and kindness, recalling how Joann created a welcoming home, not just for him, but also his friends. When he was growing up, the kids still gathered in the neighborhood for unstructured, impromptu basketball, football, or wall ball games. Some of us are older, can understand that. And we'd always play sports, and then we'd always end up at my house to make nachos, Fred told me. She always made sure it was a good place for me to be, and also my friends as well. That kindness was just one example of her character, Fred recalls. She always loved me. She was always so positive. I knew that whenever I talked to my mother, it would be a good conversation. Whenever we were together, it was always good. It was something I appreciated because it's not something you can say about a lot of people. My mother was always loving, always positive, always encouraging. A beacon of light. Tracy, I know, who also has many wonderful memories, some of which she will soon recount. And I know that Justin and Joann shared a special bond. They would talk to each other late at night, having conversations about books, politics, philosophy, and relationships. Whitney, who became a member of the family 6 years ago, also remembers Joann for her kind, loving, and welcoming ways. Whitney first met the Dardick Finne clan at a big birthday bash they threw for Joann and other family members. Whitney was nervous, angst that melted under Joann's warm embrace. Little did she know, Sam had told Joann he was going to marry Whitney, just a tiny detail that Sam had not yet shared with Whitney. Joann became both a mother figure and a confidant to Whitney, who has many treasured memories, one of which really stood out. She recalls Joann saying, "I just feel like I've known you my whole life. I don't remember not having you at my table." That was Joann. So kind, so welcoming, and yes, so wise. A beacon of light. Nate, too, still marvels at Joann's unwavering kindness through 51 years of marriage, richness and poorness, and richness again. She was always positive, always kind, amazingly had not a single enemy in this world, Nate notes. Anyone who needed a helping hand received it from Joann, who saw the good in everyone and gently, kindly, wisely made that goodness rise to the surface. She may be gone, and we do mourn her here today, but her light is not extinguished. It spread too far and too wide, and now shines on in so many others. It is, in that sense, eternal. We all know the Jewish saying, "May her memory be a blessing." There's no doubt, Joann's memory is a blessing.
Kind of like the palate cleanser.
My mom is seashells down in Florida, swimming pools in Mexico, shopping in New York City, and of course, Broadway in Chicago, Kittyland with cousins, trips to Israel and Iron Mountain. Can I even remember all the things we did, like tossing coins in that Italian fountain? So many hours talking, sometimes on the phone, sometimes over manicures, so many seeds were sown, like planning Bill and my wedding, picking out my special dress, then 3 little babies. You couldn't wait for the mess. Paints and play kitchens, ditching daycare for the zoo, kiddie concerts and the Cole Museum, the park and swim lessons too. As a grandma, you were full of fun, always ready for sleepovers or baking, even adopting the kitten we found. Your love, there was no mistaking. And of course, there were Shabbat candles, my girls calling Gigi while they prayed, braiding gluten-free challah in Grandma's kitchen, plus the sukkah where you all played. You next to me at every dance recital, every competition and skating show. With mahjong and book club on your list, Mom, you were always on the go. Elle's bat mitzvah this past November, you were so, so proud. Extended family all together. How lucky to have such a crowd. So many memories, I could go on and on. I could list many more family traditions with Dad, Bill, and my brothers, and all of your grandchildren. So now Dad will make the brisket. Bill can help. Hannah and Ava, the matzo ball soup. Sam and Elle, the Hannukah and Pesach puppet shows. But to replace you, we'll take the whole group. There was more I wish we could have done, more I wanted to add, but I wouldn't trade the minutes we shared or the blessings that we had. You didn't let life take away, just saying. Even when Dad had to help more than a bit, you were determined to keep pushing through, still smiling, always smiling, you never quit. And so many messages I have received, memories of that smile and your light, messages of your goodness and support, and even one reminding me of that time to see Princess die. You scaled a fence to great height. To finish up, Mom, we have to chat. There are new stories for the family lore, but for now, know we all miss you. And to quote a Rusky, I love you more.
In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan, v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. God has given and God has taken away. Death and sorrow are not strangers to those of us gathered here to honor Joann Dardick. With Job we say, Adonai natan, God you have given. You gave us a loved one who will never be forgotten. And for all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have taken away. And so we pray for strength to turn our broken hearts into that beacon of light with which we affirm Joann's love. It's so obvious that Joann was so many things to so many different people. A beloved daughter, a trusted sister, a dear wife, a mother, a grandmother, a teacher, a mentor, a guide, an advocate, a caretaker, a cheerleader, a Broadway and movie enthusiast, a puppeteer, a baker. Joann was too many things to express in words alone. And to stand here today to speak of Joann is to speak of a life lived with grace and passion and with an unwavering love for her family. Joann was not just a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. She was a strong and subtle force of nature. She was a constant source of light and a constant source of warmth in the lives of all who knew her. Her love for Nate was a testament to the enduring power of true companionship. Their story, which began really as children, just at a synagogue dance, became a whirlwind romance that built on shared experiences and a deep respect for each other, and for a love story for the ages. It was a love that weathered personal and professional storms, navigated uncertainties, and blossomed into a beautiful tapestry of shared life. Joann and Nate's love for each other shone through every day as they grew their family, as they dedicated themselves to community, as they built a foundation of Judaism and education and finding purpose in people for generations to come. And Joann's impact extended far beyond her immediate family. She possessed a unique ability to see that potential in others, even when they were at a very young age, to nurture their spirits, to offer unwavering support, to help guide them in life's inevitable challenges. Her passion as a teacher in preschool or elementary age students was wholehearted, and she always knew how to navigate them towards derech eretz, that path of a life led with goodness. And as Hal's poignant words about her guidance during his difficult times speaks to her character, and as we heard, he describes her as gentle but firm, and helping to see himself as not broken, but as healing, as capable of overcoming adversity and living a fulfilling life. She was that for so many people, because this was a hallmark of Joann's character, her unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of people and the resilience of their human spirit. Joann's love for her children was profound and unwavering. She cherished every milestone, every accomplishment, every fleeting moment. Her love was immediate and complete. For Hal and Fred, from the moment that they first met as a newly formed family, to Tracy and Justin, who helped to complete that family. She used every skill, every curiosity, every ounce of love to support them as they grew, even signing messages to Tracy from afar and while she sat in the stands at skating competitions, so that they could keep their bond close despite any distractions around them. She was their biggest cheerleader, their biggest confidant, their steadfast anchor. As she extended that support and care even to her children's friends, always having more joy around the Shabbat table, and always welcoming into their home, even maybe becoming that hangout for the neighborhood friends. And of course, that love grew exponentially with the arrival of her grandchildren, who she adored and allowed to let forth even more her playful spirit in that endless supply of cookies or gluten-free challah, and to always be at the forefront of her mind. Even Laura remembers just how excited Joann was to become a grandmother, and that excitement only grew every day you shared together. Beyond her family, Joann touched countless lives. Her dedication to education and personal growth through the Beth Emmet preschool and through that playground, through teaching at Solomon Schechter, to helping build places of comfort and challenge at the sports complex at Osrui, it just speaks to how much Joann and Nate's generous spirit and their desire to make this world a better place for all. Her passion as a tennis player, and even learning how to play tennis with those tennis pros that were brought for Justin, but she got the benefit of as well, became a lifelong passion, even playing in doubles leagues and having that great game the morning of her illness. She played Maj with her Chug, her tight-knit group of friends from Beth Emmet, and she read and listened to countless books, cooked and hosted Shabbat and holiday meals and Oscar parties for friends and family, and she loved her cats, Pino and Grigio and Coco. She was a puppeteer that she was so glad to learn from a friend and brought into all of these moments to make sure that everyone could access them at the way that was right for them. Joann was a woman of so many facets. She was a devoted wife, a loving mother, and a cherished grandmother, a loyal friend, and a truly compassionate soul. She was a skilled teacher and a passionate advocate, and a woman of unwavering strength and resilience. She faced all of life's challenges with grace and with determination, and she found a way to emerge stronger and keep the people around her strong and compassionate. In Judaism, as a family gathers for a Shabbat meal, it's tradition for a family to bless one another, for the parents to bless their children, and for husbands to bless their wives. And in the words of this blessing for wives, in the words of Eshet Chayil, though composed centuries ago, it seems to be written exactly for Joann. And inspired by the book of Proverbs, a version of that blessing says, "A good woman is so hard to find, but Joann is more precious than rubies, and her circle cast with friendship deep, full of love and grace and ease. She is a woman of valor. She opens her hands to the poor. She does not fear anyone else. She extends her heart to those in need and encourages her friends to succeed. She is a true woman of valor. Credit is hers for the fruit of her labors, and optimism is her might. She perhaps surrenders to God, but she does not despair because she knows how to wrap care around those whom she loves. She is a woman of valor. Trust in her. Know that she will hold you gently. When she speaks wisdom, spread around her the depth of your compassion, so profound, so that you will become a person of valor. She is counted as vital in this world, and we revel in her wonders. In others, she sees the divine presence. She sees only valor. And so we praise her, and we love her, and we hold her in our eyes, and we become the safety that she gave to so many else, and let her goodness rise in us. Indeed, Joann was and will continue to be in the hearts and in the lives of all that have the privilege of knowing her, a woman of true valor, a pillar of strength, of love, of trust and goodness. In the depths of our grief, O God, keep these best parts of Joann, Joann's presence, Joann's life, and Joann's memory strong, so that all of us who loved her may rely on that strength. We grieve for what might have been, and more than that, we celebrate for what was. Help us to bring consolation to her family, her friends, and her community. Help us to raise them from the depths of sorrow, slowly and lovingly. Help us to lead them from the night of desolation to the dawn of a new day. Then the memory of their mother and grandmother, their wife and their sister, their daughter and teacher and friend will be able to return gently and peacefully to their hearts. May her memory live in each of us, allaying our grief and instructing us in the ways to live in her goodness, helping each of us to mind the mystery of eternal life. Zichrona livracha, her memory will always and forever be our blessing. When we search for prayers to say in times of grief, Judaism gives us two prayers that I believe come in partnership, are meant to be a pair together. The first prayer, El Malei Rachamim, is a prayer for Joann, our prayer that her soul finds comfort and peace in God's presence. And it comes with its partner, Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish, that oddly enough doesn't actually speak of death. Instead, it speaks of blessing. And I believe that this prayer becomes Joann's prayer for all of us, that we continue to live our lives in the blessings that she taught us how to live. These prayers come together. El Malei Rachamim, our prayer for Joann, and Kaddish Yatom, Joann's prayer for us. And we will recite these prayers together here in the chapel and at the cemetery continue again with Kaddish Yatom, so that those who maybe find this cold day a little bit hard to find blessing, Joann would say, there's never too much blessing in someone's life, and we can bless her and bless her presence twice here in the chapel and again for those who continue with us into the cemetery. El Malay Rachamim, please rise as you are able. El Malay Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Utorim, Kezohar Harakia, Mazhirim, and Nishmat, Joann Rae Dardick, Shel Halcha Leolama, Ba'al Harachamim, Yastireha Beseter Knafav Leolamim, V'yitzror HaChaim, and Nishmatam, Adonai hu nachalatam. V'tanuach b'shalom, Hamishkava, v'nomar, Amen. On the inside of our pamphlets, we read the translation of El Malay together. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence among the holy and pure.
Chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Vizman Kariv, Imru Amen. Yehei Shvei Rabba Mevorach, Leolam Lomei Maya. Yit Barach, V'yishtabach, V'yit Pa'ar, V'yit Romam, V'yit Naseh. V'yit Adar, V'yit Aleh, V'yit Alal, Shmei Dekudusha, Brichu. Le'elam in Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tush Bechata V'nechemata, Da'amiran B'alma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom. Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at Memorial Park Cemetery here in Skokie. It's at 9900 Grosse Point Road. The family will be returning to the Hokkaido Ramen and Sushi Bar. Excuse my pronunciation. That's at 812 Church Street in Evanston. The family will be there till 8 p.m. Memorial contributions to Planned Parenthood would be appreciated. That information is on the service folder, and for those of you who are online, please note that information can be found on the funeral home's website. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a tremendous amount of people, not only here in the chapel, but in the lobby. When you exit the chapel, please remember why you're here. Just take it slowly and safely. There's ice all over, not on our parking lot, but out there. It's cold. The procession will be forming in our parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. Have your bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. Please use your horn liberally as you're going through the intersections. We'll have a car in the back of the procession to hopefully keep other cars from entering the procession. Please do not speak or text on your cellular phone while driving to the cemetery. At the cemetery, we're going to do things just a little bit differently to keep everybody safe. We're going to bring her casket to the grave with the pallbearers. We're going to lower her casket. We want everyone to stay in their cars. When the rabbi gives us permission to come out of the cars, we'll recite Kaddish. Or, depending on where the grave is, to keep the family safe, we'll surround them in their cars, and that's when we'll do Kaddish. Then you can come forward to place earth into the grave. So please stay in your cars at the cemetery. until we ask you to come out. At this time, I invite the pallbearers to please come forward and the congregation to rise as we escort the casket of Joann Rae Dardick along with her family and Rabbi Heaps from the chapel. Then you may return to your cars. Also, ladies and gentlemen, you can exit through the front of the chapel.